Okay, we are discussing about phylum Arthropoda. Okay, this is the largest phylum of the animal kingdom, and 70% of the plant, okay, animal species up to now discovered are with reference to this Arthropoda only. And when you compare the total species, two-thirds of the species up to now we discovered are the representatives of this Arthropoda. Okay, and next, when you observe this Arthropoda, the name Arthropoda is given because of the presence of jointed appendages. Okay, we'll observe different appendages like antenna, maxilla. Okay, and next legs. Okay, like this, we'll observe different parts of the body and which are formed by the small structures which are joined. Okay, small segments which are joined. That's why we are calling it as the jointed appendages. So the name given as Arthropoda. And in these organisms, the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. Head, thorax, and abdomen. Okay. And next, when you observe these organisms, in these organisms, respiratory organs are gills, book lungs, or tracheal system. Or tracheal system. And next, in these organisms, the body is covered by a chitinous exoskeleton. Okay, the body is covered by a chitinous exoskeleton. And next, these are organisms with the organ system level of organization. Triploplastic, bilaterally symmetrical, and coelomate animals. Body covered by chitinous exoskeleton. Okay, the body is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen, and they possess jointed appendages. So the name given as Arthropoda. And next, the respiratory organs are gills in some organisms. In aquatic forms, we'll find gills. Okay, and next, and in some organisms, we'll find book gills, book lungs, and in most of the organisms, we'll find tracheal system. Okay, which is consisting of tube-like structures, which will extend throughout the body and transport respiratory gases. And next, the circulatory system is of open type. That means in these organisms, we don't find blood vessels. We don't find blood vessels usually, and the blood will flow in a cavities called as sinuses. Okay, open cavities called sinuses. That's why we are calling it as an open circulatory system. And next, okay, we'll find some sensory organs like antenna. Okay, antenna, which are chemotactic, which will help in locating the food material. Okay, and next, eyes. Okay, in some we'll find a compound, and in some we'll find a simple eyes. Compound eyes means each eye is again divided into small units. which will act as a, each structure can act as an eye. That means each structure will form the image separately. And this structure, which is unit of the eye, we are calling it as ommatidium. Okay, note this one, ma, ommatidium, ommatidium, ommatidium. Okay, the smaller units in the compound eye, we call it as ommatidium. For example, when you observe the cockroach, the each compound eye of the cockroach consists of up to 1,000 ommatidia. Up to 1,000 ommatidia. Okay, that means each ommatidia will perceive the light separately and they form the image separately. Okay, and in these organisms, the vision is like vision. That means one image will be overlapping with the another image, and the object will be will be observed in the form of blurred overlapping. Okay, clearly the image will not be observed. Okay, like us, okay, we can see the any object very clearly, but in case of this organ, okay, in the insects which possess compound eye, usually they form mosaic vision. That means one image overlapping with the another image, like a blurred like vision is observed. Okay, and in some organisms it is simple, and in some organisms it is simple. That means we'll find only one structure and one only will form the image, simple image. Okay, that is eyes, antenna, eyes, and next statocyst. Statocyst are the balancing structures in aquatic forms. Okay, a large number of aquatic arthropods are there, like prawns, crabs. Okay, like this. Okay, when you observe these aquatic forms, in these aquatic forms, to balance their body in the water, some specialized structures called statocysts or balancing organs are present. Okay, they will balance. Okay, that means they detect the pressure of the water at each depth they are living. They detect the pressure of the water, and according to that, it balances its body so that it will float in the water. Otherwise, it will sink into the water. Okay, such a balancing as a statocyst. So these are the some of the sensory organs that are associated with the arthropod. That is antenna, which are chemotactic, okay, in nature. That means they detect the chemical nature so that they can identify the food material, the type of the food material. And next, eyes to perceive light. Some organisms are nocturnal, some organisms are diurnal, and some can move in both. For example, if you observe the mosquitoes, usually most of the mosquitoes are nocturnal. That means they come out of, okay, they will come in search of food during night time. Cockroaches, night time. Okay, okay. Some of the insects we can observe in our, okay, some moths, okay, coming at night. Okay, that is. So to pursue the light, these eyes are useful, and statocysts are balancing organs are present usually in aquatic forms for balancing. And next, coming to the excretory, excretion takes place through malfusion tubules, a specialized structures, okay, which are long tubular structures, long tubular finger-like structures, okay, which will arise like a tuft. Okay, which will collect the nitrogenous waste from the body and they are excreted outside. These are long finger-like structures which are arranged in tuft. Okay, tuft, that means in a group. We are calling malfusion tubules. Okay, that is okay. The malfusion tubules are the excretory organs in most of the forms. And next, coming to the reproduction, they are mostly dioecious. That means they are unisexual. Okay, and they show sexual dimorphism. That means we can able to distinguish the male insect or male organism from the female organism. Okay, and fertilization is usually internal. Okay, as the organisms are mostly terrestrial. Okay, even if they are aquatic also, we usually will find the fertilization is internal. Okay, and next they are mostly oviparous. That means they lay eggs. They are mostly oviparous. That is, they lay eggs. And the development may be direct or indirect. That means we'll find certain larval forms. Okay, larval forms. For example, you can we might have studied the the life cycle of a mosquito. Will find egg, larva, pupa, and adult. So we'll find two stages. That is larva and pupa. Okay, in some we'll find nymphs. In some we'll find maggots. Okay, like that. Okay, the larval form, different types of larval forms in between the egg and adult. Okay, in that case we call it as indirect. And some organisms will give birth to young ones, which is similar to the adults. Okay, in that case, we call it as a direct. Very few are direct, most of them are indirect. And next, examples. Okay, a large number of insects which belongs to this group Arthropoda are economically important. Okay, for example, Apis, which is the Apis, the scientific name of honeybee. Apis mellifera, Apis indica. These are the different species of honeybees. Okay, for honeybee, we all know very well the honey is is obtained from this honeybees. And next, Bombyx mori. Okay, it is the scientific name of silkworm. Okay, silkworm means a caterpillar. Okay, silk moth, that is the adult. Okay, generally the term silkworm means the caterpillar of a silk moth. Silk moth, okay, generally we call it as silk moth because it is a moth. Okay, but from both these stages, the silk is not obtained. The silk is obtained from the pupal stage. Pupal stage of this silk moth. Okay, that is Bombay. Okay, the scientific name of silk moth is Bombyx mori. And next, okay, Laxifer lacca. Laxifer lacca. That is the scientific name of a lac insect. from which we'll obtain a substance called lac. Okay, this lac is used in sealing. Okay, used in a sealing. Okay. And next, some of the insects are involved in a transport of diseases. Okay, they will not directly cause the disease, but they will carry some of the disease causing organisms from one place to another place, or from one organism to another organism. Okay, such organisms we are calling it as vectors. Okay, most of the mosquitoes, Anopheles, which is involved in the causing malaria, which will transport the malarial parasite from one human to another human. Culex, which is involved in the transport of filariasis, Culex mosquito, which is involved in the transmission of filariasis or elephantiasis from one person to another person. And next, Aedes. Okay, it is involved in the transmission of a large number of viral diseases like encephalitis, yellow fever. Okay. Okay. And next, okay, so these mosquitoes, these are commonly called as mosquitoes, Anopheles, Culex, and Aedes mosquitoes. Okay, which are involved in a transmission of diseases. That's why we are calling them as vectors, because they are not directly causing, but they are helping the disease causing organisms getting transmitted from one person to another person, or from intermediate host to from one host to another host. Okay, that is. And next, gregarious pest. Okay, gregarious pest. That means these are the pests which will damage to the crops. Okay, pest, we can say pest means okay, the insects which will cause damage to the crops. Okay, locust, commonly called locust. Okay, and next, the living fossil. What is meant by fossil? Anybody knows? Okay, anybody know what is meant by fossil? Say yes or no.
So dead remains of fishes or animals under high pressure inside earth, sir.
Yes. Okay, when you observe here, okay, the fossil is nothing but okay, the dead remains of any organism, any part of the organism, the dead remains of any part of the organism which is buried inside the soil. Okay, these okay, such structures we call it as fossil. Then what is meant by living fossil? Okay, generally we are saying fossil means it is the dead remain which is buried inside the soil. Then here we are the okay saying living fossil. Okay, generally when you observe the fossil, as it is buried inside the soil for so many years, it does not undergone any change. It doesn't get okay, it does not undergone any change. It remained as it is. That structures. Okay, in the same manner, here there are some organisms Okay, there are some organisms that are present in the world which are still living, but they doesn't undergone any change from thousands of years. Generally, what we are saying, according to the evolution, every organism will undergo certain changes according to the changes that are taking place in the environment. And we are saying that those organisms which do not change, they are usually removed from the earth surface because they are not suited for that environment. So slowly the number will gradually reduces. But this is an exception which has not undergone any change since some thousands of years and remained as it is from that thousands of years back onwards. But still it is living and not undergone any changes in course of evolution since many years. That's why such organisms we call them as a living fossil. One such example is a limulus, that is a king crab. Okay, limulus, which is commonly called as a king crab. This is considered as a living fossil. Understood? Anybody is having any doubt regarding this living fossil? Okay. Here we can see some of the examples, some of the pictures that were given of arthropoda. That is a locust. Okay. Locust, and next one you can see the butterfly. Okay, and next a scorpion, and next a prawn. Okay, when you observe this locust and a butterfly, they belongs to a group called insecta, whereas okay, the scorpion belongs to arachnida. Okay, whereas the prawns belongs to crustacea. And okay, these are all different classes of arthropoda, but we don't have okay the okay okay this classification up to classes. We have okay the animal kingdom only up to phylum for invertebrates. Okay. Okay, but these okay just remember, okay, prawns belongs to a class called crustacea, and scorpion belongs to the class arachnida, and locust, butterflies, okay, mosquitoes, honeybees, bombyx, laxifer, black insect, silk moth, okay, and next this honeybees, mosquitoes, ants, all they belongs to this class insecta. That's why we commonly call them as insects, because as they belongs to the class insecta. Even the mosquitoes also, mosquitoes, houseflies, cockroaches, these are all belongs to insects. That is class insecta. Okay. Okay, sometimes in the NEET they are asking related to this class. Okay, so you can remember organism and class. That's it. And next, the next phylum, that is the phylum mollusca. Phylum mollusca, MOLLUSA, mollusca. Okay, when you observe here, this is the second largest animal phylum. Okay, the next to arthropoda. Okay, which is the largest phylum in the not only in the animal kingdom, in the living organisms. Which phylum is the largest phylum means we can say arthropoda. And the next to this phylum, which is the largest one, means it is mollusca. Okay. And next, molluscans are terrestrial or aquatic. Okay, in molluscans we'll find both aquatic forms as well as terrestrial forms. And in aquatic forms, again, we'll find marine or freshwater forms. We'll find both freshwater forms as well as marine water forms, having an organ system level of organization. And these organisms are also having a organ system level of organization. And next, when you observe these organisms, they are bilaterally, exception a few adult forms. Exceptions to a few adult forms like snails. Okay, like snails. Snails, the adult forms will show asymmetry, but the larval forms will show bilateral symmetry. Already, while we are discussing about symmetry, we discussed this one. The adult forms show asymmetry, but the larval forms will show bilateral symmetry. That's why we are we are fixing to this bilateral symmetry only these organisms. That's why they are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, and coelomate animals. Okay, triploblastic. That means they possess the 3 germinal layers: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm, and they are coelomate animals. That means they are true coelomate animals with the schizocoelom. That is, the coelom is formed by the splitting of mesodermal cells. And next, body is covered by a calcareous shell and is unsegmented with a distinct head, muscular foot, and a visceral hump. Okay. And next, in the most of the organisms, very few are exceptions which do not have this shell. Okay. And most of the organisms that are included under mollusca are having an external shell. That means the body is covered by a hard calcareous. Calcareous means which is made up of calcium carbonate. Calcareous shell. Okay, body is covered by a calcareous shell and is unsegmented with a distinct head, muscular foot, and visceral hump. Okay, with a distinct head, muscular foot, and visceral hump. That means the body, the body is very soft. The body is soft. Why? Because the organisms are covered by a shell, completely enclosed by a shell to protect from enemies. Okay, so because of this phenomena, the body of the organisms is very much soft. Okay, and it is unsegmented, that we don't find any segments externally observed. Okay, the body is divided into head, muscular foot, and visceral hump. That means all the body parts are concentrated at one place, and that region we are calling it as visceral hump. So that is so it is divided into 3 parts. So a soft and spongy layer of skin forms a mantle over the visceral hump. Okay, when you observe the visceral hump is covered by a soft and spongy layer of skin. Okay, and this we are calling it as a mantle. Okay, mantle, okay, over the hump, visceral hump. The space between the hump and the mantle is called a mantle cavity, in which feather-like gills are present. Between the visceral hump and the mantle, small space will be there. And this space, we are calling it as a mantle cavity. The space between the visceral hump and the mantle. We are calling it as a mantle cavity, and this mantle cavity consists of feather-like gills, feather-like gills, like a feather. Okay, the gills are present, and these are involved in respiration and excretory function. Okay, they have respiratory and excretory functions. That means they help in exchange of gases, and at the same time, they are also involved in removal of waste materials from the body. And next, the anterior head region has sensory tentacles. Okay, the anterior head region. Usually, the anterior head region. You can okay, you might have observed in the snail. Small thread-like structures are observed at the head region, like antennas. Okay, those are tentacles. They are sensory in nature. And next, okay, this is very unique characteristic feature of a mollusca. The mouth contains a file-like organ for feeding called radula. So the presence of radula is the unique feature of molluscans. Radula, it is a rasping organ. Rasping means, okay, it will take the food material and the food material is rubbed over this structure so that the food material is broken down into small pieces for a digestion process. Okay, that rasping organ which is present in the mouth, which helps in feeding, we are calling it as a radula. Rasping means rubbing, like it will move and forward and breaks the food material into small pieces. And next, coming to the reproduction, they are usually dioecious. Okay, they are usually dioecious. That means they are unisexual. Oviparous, that is they lay eggs with indirect development. That means we'll find the larval stages. Okay, we'll find different different forms of larva. Okay, in this phylum. Okay, different organisms will form different types of larvae. Okay, and finally this larva, okay, the egg gives rise to larva and they will be converted into different forms. Finally develops into the adult. So the development is usually indirect. Okay. Examples of this phylum mollusca, that is a phyla, which is commonly called as apple snail, the normal snail that we'll observe now. Okay, with the round shaped shell, that is the apple snail phyla. And next, pink tada, that is a pearl oyster, will obtain pearls now from the, okay, those organisms we call it as oysters. As they are used for obtaining the pearls, we are calling it as pearl oysters. Okay, its scientific name is a pink tada. And next one is sepia, that is cuttlefish. Okay, loligo, commonly called as squid. And next, octopus, which is commonly called as the devilfish. You know very well about this octopus. Okay, a large number of people might have observed this octopus. Okay, it also belongs to this phylum, mollusca only, octopus. And next, aplasia, that is a sea hare. And a dentalium, shell, that means, okay, this dentalium will looks like a, the tusk of the elephant. The tusk, how the tusk of the elephant is observed. Okay, in that shape, it is like elongated tusk-like. That's why it is called a tusk shell. Scientific name is a dentalium. And next one is the Chaetopleura, that is chiton. Okay, the shell is divided into 8 plates. That's why named as a chiton. Okay. Okay, pleura means the plate like. Keto means 8. Okay, Chaetopleura, as the body is covered by 8 plate-like structures which will form the shell. That's why named as keto. So these are the some of the examples: Pila, Pinctada, Sepia, Loligo, Octopus, Aplysia, Dentalium, and Chaetopleura. Okay, that is related to this mollusca. Anybody is having any doubt regarding mollusca?
No, sir.
Okay, so when you observe here, starting from Ellida, Arthropoda, and mollusca, all these organisms are true coelomates, and they possess the schizocoelom. They are coelomate, even though the true coelom and the type of the coelom is described as schizocoelom. The splitting of mesodermal cells will help in the formation of the coelom. Okay, but when you observe this echinoderms or echinoderm, the phylum Echinodermata, these are the organisms which will show enterocoelom. Okay, that is the true coelom only, but the coelom is formed from the archenteron, which we call it as a future digestive system. Okay, later it forms the digestive system, and from that archenteron, the mesodermal cells are formed, and these mesodermal cells will form the coelom. We are calling it as a enterocoelom. Okay, but a true coelom only. Eucoelomates, there are 2 types: schizocoelom and enterocoelom. Okay, whatever we have discussed up to now, that is Ellida, Arthropoda, and mollusca, the true coeloms, they are showing schizocoelom, and this is the organisms which are included under invertebrates, which will show enterocoelom. Okay, that's what that is the differentiation we can observe with the coelom in these organisms. Okay, and next one, coming to the characters, the general characteristics of these organisms that were included under the phylum Echinodermata. These animals have an endoskeleton of calcareous ossicles. Up to now, whatever the animals we have discussed, if the skeleton is present, it is present outer side. That's why we call it as exoskeleton. For example, if you take arthropoda, in arthropoda we observe chitinous exoskeleton, and in case of snails, okay, or in case of molluscans, we can observe a calcareous exoskeleton, which is made up of shell. Only a few exceptions, that is sepia, loligo. Okay, these consist of the shell inside. That is the endoskeleton. The shell is internal. The sepia and the loligo is an exception, which is showing the shell is internal, endoskeleton. Okay, but in echinoderms we don't find exoskeleton. The skeleton is internal, that is we'll find endoskeleton. made up of calcareous ossicles, that is a bone-like structures. Which is made up of calcium carbonate, calcareous ossicles, and hence the name Echinodermata. Okay, that is spiny bodied. Okay, spiny bodied. Okay, these are okay calcareous ossicles which are present inside will be protruding from internally, so forming a spiny structures on the organism. Appears like spiny because of these ossicles are protruding out. It appears like the organism possessing spines. Because of these spiny structures, it is named as echino. The term echino represents to spiny. Derma means skin. Eta means bearing. Okay, spiny skin bearing organisms. That's why named as Echinodermata. But these spiny structures are not present only on the surface. They are coming from the internal structure, that is the endoskeleton. Okay, endoskeletal structures, that is okay, calcareous ossicles. That's why it was named as Echinodermata. And next, the organisms that were included under the Echinodermata are all aquatic and exclusively marine. Remember this one very clearly. Exclusively marine. Even we don't find one freshwater echinoderm. Even we don't find one terrestrial echinoderm. Whatever the echinoderm we have discovered up to now, all they belongs to marine water. That's why we say exclusively marine. All are marine. All are marine, exclusively marine, with the organ system level of organization. All are marine with the organ system level of organization. And next, okay, while we are discussing about symmetry, we have already discussed regarding this. The adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but the larvae are bilaterally symmetrical. Okay. Okay, most of the echinoderms are sessile, are stationary. They do not move. So because of this, they have developed this radial. Because of this, they developed this radial symmetry due to the environmental conditions. But the free living or freely swimming larval forms are showing bilateral symmetry. Okay, are showing bilateral symmetry. So that's why the adult echinoderms are radially symmetrical, but the larval forms are bilaterally symmetrical. And next, they are triploblastic and coelomate animals. Okay, they are triploblastic. That means they possess the 3 germinal layers: ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. And we'll find the coelom, that is the true coelom, that is eucoelom. It is intracoelomate type, because the coelom is formed from archenteron. That's why we say enterocoelom. Okay. And next, the digestive system is complete with the mouth on the lower side and anus on the upper side. Okay. There is a ventral side. Okay, the mouth is present on the ventral side, whereas the anus is present on the dorsal side. Okay. And next, the very important characteristic feature which is unique to this echinoderms, that is water vascular system. The most distinctive feature of echinoderms is the presence of vascular system, which helps in locomotion, capture, and transport of food. That means capture of food and transport of food and respiration. Okay, and respiration. So a large number of functions or various functions are carried out by this water vascular system. That is locomotion, capture and transport of food, and respiration. And an excretory system is absent because these are the organisms which will show excretion by diffusion through this water vascular system only. Okay, that means okay, this water, as the water is moving through this water vascular system, that nitrogenous waste substances will enter into this water by diffusion process and they are removed outside. So that's why they didn't develop okay, this excretory organs. That's why the excretory system is absent. Okay, and next coming to the reproduction, sexes are separate. That means they are unisexual, dioecious. Okay, reproduction is sexual. Reproduction is sexual. Fertilization is usually external. Fertilization is external. That means it will take place in the water. And next, the development is direct with the free swimming larva. Already I told you. Okay. In most of the echinoderms, the arms are stationary. They are unable to move. Are sessile. They are fixed. That's why the symmetry has been changed to radial symmetry. But the larval forms are free swimming and they show bilateral symmetry. So in these organisms, we'll find a free swimming bilaterally symmetrical larva. So as the larval form is observed in we say the development is indirect. So examples, that is astrias, that is what we commonly called as starfish. The starfish, okay, it is not a fish, it belongs to echinoderms. Okay, so that is sea urchin. Antedon, that is sea lily. Okay, cucumeria, it is commonly called as sea cucumber. Okay, and Ophiura, that is commonly called as a brittle star. Okay, you can see the diagrams of Astrias and Ophiura. Astrias, which is commonly called as starfish, and Ophiura, which is commonly called as a brittle star. Okay. Okay, usually this echinoderms consists of 5 arms, 5 or multiples of 5 arms. Okay. Okay, and next in these organisms we'll find there is a high power of regeneration. In these organisms, we'll find a great power of regeneration. Okay, there is okay, that means regeneration means whatever the parts that were lost, they can be reformed. For example, if an organism if a predator came and eaten the starfish, okay, there are 5 arms